folks, welcome back. Thank you for watching. Please do hit subscribe if you haven't done so yet. It really does make a big difference when you do that. So today folks, welcome to another Ask Perky video where I answer your questions. And today's question I've actually been asked quite a few times in the last few weeks for whatever reason, but the one I could actually find to screenshot was Robin Crest, who asks, what do you think, treble booster before or after a fuzz? Now this is a really interesting topic because generally speaking you can connect two pedals together in either order and have them work pretty much as expected. Now there is a sort of semi-prescribed order that you would generally run your pedals in on your pedal board, but you don't necessarily have to stick to that. I, for example, run all my modulation pedals pre-drive, whereas the typical way to do it is to have your modulations after your drive pedals. I just much prefer it that way. And also we would usually have our reverb pedal right at the end of our pedal board. You can get some very interesting results running your reverbs into your overdrive pedals because your drive pedals then smash up the reverb tails and create some really gnarly aggressive sounds. Not traditional sounds by any stretch of the imagination, but some really interesting ones. So it's fun to play around with pedal order a little bit. But where this becomes a problem is using pedals with transistors in them, which typically tend to be vintage fuzzers and treble boosters, because transistors want to see a direct connection between the pickup of your guitar and the input of a pedal. Now if you put anything in line before that, a buffered bypass pedal or a pedal that's turned on for example, then that screws with the impedance. It drops the impedance right down and it kills the sort of two-way flow of information that happens with transistor-based pedals and your guitar's pickups. So all of a sudden your nice warm fuzz face sounds very harsh and doesn't clean up very well. So if you've ever bought a fuzz and thought it sounded super aggressive and doesn't respond as you expect on the volume control, you may have had a buffered pedal before it and not necessarily twigged what that could be doing. So today what I'm going to do is I'm first and foremost going to show you the problems a buffer can create running it before a fuzz pedal, and then I'm going to experiment by running a Rangemaster type treble booster into a fuzz face and vice versa and see exactly what effects that has on the sound and which we ultimately prefer. So my clean sound today is this. So a nice flat tone. It's not overly bright, it's not overly boomy, it's just a nice sort of flat sort of platform tone as it were. And I'm now going to turn on the Analog.Man NKT Red Dot Germanium Sun Face, which is a fuzz face fuzz circuit. So a super warm and smoky tone, as is often used to describe the NKT red dots. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 1-to-1 buffer in line before that fuzz pedal. So it's not adding any gain, it's not boosting the signal, all it's doing is dropping the impedance down and removing the impedance mismatch at the start of the fuzz pedal that kind of creates that nice smoky tone. So the tone really changes. It stops being nice and warm and smoky and becomes really harsh and nasal. And also the gain of the pedal shoots up even though we're not adding any gain in the front end. It just makes the fuzz not behave as it should. Now one of my favourite things to do with a Germanium fuzz face pedal especially is to back the guitar's volume off, and this is a sort of Hendrix clean tone thing. So we start with our nice fluffy fuzz sound, and then back our guitar's volume down. So the fuzz is really responsive to what you do with your volume control. But now if we add the buffer in line again, so even with the volume down on 1 there, it wasn't cleaning up hardly at all. It was still incredibly aggressive, incredibly spitty. So the cleanup effect just doesn't work when there's a buffer in line before the fuzz, and it massively changes the tone so it doesn't behave as it wants to. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is experiment by putting the treble booster before and after the fuzz, because both those pedals want to see a direct connection to your guitar. So running both at the same time, by definition, one of them is going to be receiving a signal it doesn't want to see. So we're going to have a little experiment and play the same things but the footage side by side and see exactly how those two pedals behave in both orders and see which we prefer. So without further ado, guys, let's get going. So there we are, folks. Now two very different sounds and behaviours depending on the order of those two pedals, right? Now to my ears, I much preferred the sound of the fuzz running into the treble booster because we still got a lot of that fuzz face cleanup off the guitar's volume control, and we were essentially using the treble booster to kind of shape the sound of the fuzz, which can be a really nice thing to do. And it sounded like the treble booster was much more friendly when having something in line before it than the fuzz was. Boosting into the fuzz, the gain was through the roof, the tone was really harsh, and the cleanup just wasn't there on the guitar's volume. So I think it was just a more pleasant experience all round having the fuzz running into the treble booster. But let's be honest, having the treble booster into the fuzz, that sound will get you heard in a mix. That will scythe through a dense band like a knife through butter. So it could be an appropriate sound depending on the situation. It will definitely get you heard. It's not a nice sound. It's certainly not pleasant sitting here in front of the amps playing it really loud, but it could be useful in certain situations. So there's no such thing as a bad tone really, just inappropriate tone. So it could be useful depending on what you want to achieve. So if you guys like stacking fuzzes or boosts or whatever, drop it in the comments below. I love chatting about this sort of stuff with you guys. And if you have any more suggestions for a future Ask Perky video, drop it in the comments too with the hashtag. And if I can make a video answering a question, I absolutely will do so. So thank you ever so much for watching, folks. Please do carry on subscribing. I know I always bang on about it, but it does make a huge difference when you subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.